Okay. Hey, I'm Dr. Brown, and welcome to PowerPoints. And I have some powerful things to share with you today. And of course, y'all know how it works. We only have 10 minutes, and normally we keep it that bite-sized kind of stuff so that way you can get whatever it is that I believe that will sort of be cemented in your heart and in your mind in particular. And so let's just go, before we go into anything else, let's just get some of the preliminaries out of the way. You know what they are. I want you to subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe and comment. Let me know what you think. If you've been watching us for some time, I want to know and I want to hear from you. I want to know who you are. And so let's just become a partner. And because today I'm going to sort of unfold some things, especially when it comes to what I call platinum principles. And those platinum principles are going to really open your mind up to so many things. And so today, I just want to talk about some things that I've been sharing about for the last several weeks, not just in my church, but in business and other people in reference to those I mentor and father and share with. And one of the things I was talking about was how God has so placed within mankind the ability to be like Him. Now, that may go a little bit over most people's heads because they don't see themselves that way. But the Bible speaks of this in a unique way. And one of those things in which God created us is He created us without limits. And if I want to get you to exceed the limits, I'm going to have to help you in an area of your mindset. Now, I'm going to be sharing some things later on today if you catch me while I'm live, while I'm ministering at this church of mine. But I want to share this concerning this principle concerning exceeding limits, because I cannot help you exceed the limits that God has given you, because that's an impossibility. But I can help you exceed limits that you set for yourself. Because most of the time we don't realize all of the limits that we have are self-imposed. I said once, when you feel like you're in a box, I said, oftentimes you fail to realize you're the one that jumps in the box. You jump into the box. So the thing is, if you can make a mess, you can clean it up. You can get everything right, and you can do everything the way that you want life to go in the direction that you desire for it to go. But limits have nothing to do with what you've done already. Some people think that because they set a limit here and they've accomplished something, that doesn't circumscribe the limit. It doesn't say what you're able or capable of doing. And let me give an example. I said this years and years ago. If you put a group of fleas into a jar and keep that jar open and don't put a lid on top, they're going to jump right out of that jar. But if you put that group of fleas into that jar, close and turn that top on top, that lid, and they're going to keep hitting that for about 2 to 3 days. And then afterwards, you can, all of a sudden, maybe 3, 4 days down the road, you can just take the lid off. And I can assure you that those fleas will stay exactly where they are. And they will hit a ceiling even though the ceiling is not there. You see, the Bible talks about us being sheep, not dumb sheep, but sheep. And oftentimes, here's another example. Here's an example of how sheep can be mentally trained for something. About 3 sheep were used to exit this open door. And it was like a rope put across the exit. And so the sheep would go around and they would jump over the rope. And they did this for a number of days. And down the road, the owner of the sheep, he was using an example, he removed the rope. And each rope that they removed did not hinder them from jumping because they saw it in their mind every single time. They jumped, even though the rope was gone, the sheep kept jumping as they exit the room. That's what happens when your limits are set. Those limits are not permanent. They can be orchestrated and changed by the way you believe. Faith is a principal thing, so you have to see this. You see, God created you very detailed and meticulous, and He created you in His image. Now, as much as you and I cannot define everything about God, you cannot define everything about yourself. Your identity is so important for you to realize how important you are and what God says about you, and you don't play yourself small. It is so important that if you don't get a grip or a hold of who you really are and what God says about you, you're going to be limited to what you don't have, and you're going to be limited to what you have not achieved, and that becomes the basis for your whole entire life and your lifestyle. So I can't stop you from achieving certain things, but I can tell you when you hit a ceiling, that's a limit that you set. And the Bible tells us not to think more highly of ourselves as we ought, but to think soberly. That doesn't mean that you should not think highly of yourself. And so the first thing in thinking highly of yourself is thinking that you are just like God. If you are a child of God and you believe that God created you in His image, that means He placed within you the parameters of all of what He can do through you. The will of God is absolutely necessary for you and I to get or understand, because the will of God becomes our limit. Whatever the Lord wants us to do and says we can do it, we can do. And it has nothing to do with physics. It has nothing to do with your personal accomplishments. It has nothing to do with others, what others may think that they allow you to do. You can do practically anything. My problem is, do you believe it? Now, some things you don't share with people because you know they won't believe it. But there are times you got to come to a place where you realize that God will hide you in the density of His glory cloud so that the enemy cannot make a target out of you, so that you can see what it is that God wants you to achieve and do in this lifetime. Your life is not limited but by the limits you set. And therefore, you have to literally just be dogmatic in saying, no, I can do this. I can accomplish this. I can do that. And you don't compare yourself to someone or what someone achieved, because whatever they are doing, it may not be your life's assignment. So you don't wear what other people say about you or what they think about you. Now, when it comes to identity, how crucial is identity? You're going to hear a lot more tonight when I talk about that in terms of identity. It is a Latin word that says something about almost like a way of one has the ability to expand, because that's what it comes to. Because if you can expand, that means you're discovering some of the things that you can do other than what you've already done. That means your ability to think, your capacity to retain has just been explosive. When it comes to business, when it comes to life, when it comes to your personal thought, that's what happens. So I'm very dogmatic in terms of what is God saying, because everything is for His glory. Remember this, your creation is for His glory. And I've never found that God has ever made anything that does not have the ability to produce the kind of results that He says. Now, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. So your asking or your imagination is not the limit, because your imagination will only go so far and your speech can only go so far until you learn to talk the language of God. and think the thoughts of God. God said, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. And therefore, you gotta catch it. That doesn't mean that he didn't say that you couldn't. It simply means that you can. And you have to believe it. All things are possible to him that believe. And I believe this is your hour to break every limit in what you thought that you couldn't do or what you may have failed in before. You will accomplish those things and you will do whatever it is that God has sentenced for you to do. Whatever the Lord started within you, believe this, he will finish it. And God bless you. That's my 10 minutes. That's all I have to say, but God bless you. I look forward to getting with you tonight. Bye-bye.